So now that Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2023 is over, here are my learnings, my recap, my observations, and things I wish to improve upon for the next years. And perhaps, hopefully you can learn a thing or two in this video and apply it to your own strategy too for next year. So if you don't yet know who I am, you're new to this channel. My name is Justin. I'm the founder at paidadvertising.com, an e-commerce growth firm having spent over $12 million on ads in the last 3 years. And we've worked with over 70 partners. And this year we've managed to help scale 15 brands during this Black Friday Cyber Monday season. I just want to share these learnings with you. So let's get straight into it. Post BFCM recap. So the first thing that I've kind of realized, and some of these things, by the way, might not be new to you. Some of these things aren't necessarily new to me either. They were just kind of reminded, I guess, to me in this Black Friday Cyber Monday period. So not all brands are made equal. What I mean by that is that across our client pool, there's roughly 3 different types of clients. So on the one side, some brands totally crushed it. They had like sky high sales, they hit record months, they had great days, and that was fun. Number 2, others kind of stabilized. Like they didn't do wow, they didn't do poorly, they were somewhere in the middle if you want. And then there were the brands that just got hits with the Black Friday Cyber Monday slump. Typically brands that were either underprepared or that had a rougher patch prior in the year, which I'll get to in a second as to why I think that was. It's like they were stuck watching the big game happening, right? It's like all of these other brands in the space are thriving and then these guys weren't. And I want to shed the light on why I think that was. So the 4 most common traits of these successful brands that I've seen were the following, which then reverse those. And typically this is why some of those brands didn't perform as well this year. Number 1, the amount of previous ad efforts throughout the year. So the more had somebody spent on ads and successfully did so the entire year leading up to Q4, the better results came through Q4. Because Q4 more specifically, I have yet to see a brand of ours that did more revenue, or how can I say, it's like I've yet to see a brand fail through email. It's like most of these brands have done very, very well through email and SMS marketing, or post pilot as an example. So with like direct mail marketing, organic was also good. So typically these are fueled by paid ads. Like the more ads you run in a year, the more people get pushed into the funnel, right? The more ads you run, the more organic followers you get. Typically the more ads you run on paid social, the better your paid search results. The more ads you run again on paid social, the more email subscribers you get, so on and so forth. So one of our brands actually was slightly down in Black Friday Cyber Monday, and we had only taken on their account as of November in itself, so we were quite new to working with them. And when we were looking at it, we're like, what's going on? Why are they not doing as well as they did last year? And then the biggest realization is that their previous agency had slashed Facebook ad spend by 52% for all of the year leading up to November, essentially. So we were kind of seeing that. When I audited this account prior to taking them on board, I told the client anyways that Google ad ROAS were through the roof for the year. Email marketing was also through the roof for the year. Facebook in itself was doing mostly retargeting or bottom of funnel advertising with decreasing spend as the year went by. So I basically told them, like, at this point of the year, like you're really saturating your existing customers. It will bite you back very soon. And this is what happened, honestly, with Black Friday Cyber Monday. It's because there wasn't as much ad efforts, especially top of funnel and acquisition efforts done earlier in the year. It's bit them back essentially during Black Friday Cyber Monday. Now, point number 2 is brand presence. So the bigger the organic following, then the more people are going to become aware and kind of just get into the snowball and flywheel effect essentially of wanting to purchase during Black Friday Cyber Monday. Number 2, email list size, which you see brand presence is indirectly proportionate to the amount of ad efforts usually done in a year. Now, influencers in PR, I feel it's also very underrated. The brands that we have that just absolutely crush it on Black Friday Cyber Monday are crushing it across the board. They have everything done right. They have post-pilot set up to send direct mail to some of their customers. They have email marketing and SMS just dialed in with the right scheduling time. They've really looked through the year at what times are the best, what list segmentation to do, and at what times to send it, essentially, right, to the different list segments throughout Black Friday Cyber Monday. Organic is on point. They're posting daily, if not multiple times a day, and they're having many stories daily on Instagram as an example. Now, influencers in PR also, it's like they've typically dispatched products to these influencers to then post about the Black Friday sale going on as soon as it launches, and they have a killer strategy there. And some even go as far as doing PR for Black Friday Cyber Monday, meaning if everything is covered, it's like your audience has no other choice but to see that you have a sale and to be reminded that you have a sale, to be reminded to buy. So the bigger the brand presence, typically the bigger the success during Black Friday Cyber Monday. Now, number 3 is also the giftability of the product. The easier it is to either frame it or to just naturally believe it from a consumer standpoint that, oh, this product is the perfect gift, then the easier time you have at scaling up your campaigns and getting better results during Black Friday, Cyber Monday once again. A lot of products are great gifts, but on the flip side, a lot of products aren't really great gifts. Like if you're selling supplements, as an example, might not be the best time of the year, especially considering that early on in the year, Q1 typically is the better time for supplements, right? And then finally, PMF. It really is a true testament to how strong is the product market fit of a brand is during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Like, had you proven that your product has a market fit, there's a demand for it, that you're pricing the right way, that you have the right offer, that your website is converting right, all of these things have a lot to play in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, okay? Which is why I believe, going back up here, why some of these brands didn't succeed as well during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's mostly because either one or multiple of these four kind of common traits weren't respected. Or sometimes I mentioned supplements again because I'm thinking of one supplement brand that we have, which is advertising like a weight loss product. They, like, historically, they do better in Q1 anyways. So that's more of a seasonality problem than it is of a Black Friday, Cyber Monday problem, okay? We've had great successes. I'll make separate videos soon on a lot of these cases and kind of breaking down exactly what we did. Some of those, which I sent in an email to our lists earlier this week, was the following. Like, one of our jewelry brand, we now work with them for a third Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Crushed it. So Friday, they were up 11% year over year. They reached a daily peak of 29K in revenue at 10% MER only. So only 10% of total revenue was spent on ads, which basically beating what they had done for November to date in a single day, which was honestly very, very nice for them. An underwear brand of ours also right here, they did pretty good because they were apprehensive of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, given a slower growth in 2023 so far. They did about 39.3K with 4.1K in ad spend and is now up 29% year over year on a year-to-date basis. So they're actually up on the entire year, which is great. Other fashion brand right here had now also been with us for over 2 years. Had a great launch day with 3.4K in ad spend, 12K in ad attributed revenue only. Other fashion brand of ours so far in BFCM 2023, because at the time of writing that, we were 1 day out of ending Black Friday, Cyber Monday, was up 21% year over year with about 4% MER, which is honestly crazy. I've tried to get this guy to increase ad spend, but he doesn't want it. He wants to be like, he basically is profit maximizing the brand. So hey, we're only spending 4% of revenue, but bringing them to 279,000 pounds for November so far. And then finally, the small jewelry brand, which I rarely take on brands that small, but this actually was one of our subscribers on the channel who had basically 1.5K months. And now we did 1.7K on Black Friday itself. They surpassed their first 10K month in November. I think they're on track to do 12K in November. So honestly, just kudos to them. Kudos to our team too for helping them out with that. And hey, if you want to start Q1 the right way and end the year strong, click the link down below and book in a call to speak with our team. So perhaps we can help be your paid media, paid search, and performance creatives partner. Now, the second thing that really impacted us was the last minute changes. So this year, I decided to mentally prepare myself, our team, and our clients much earlier than the previous years. Typically year one, actually I was very underprepared. It was my first year in the e-commerce space. I literally prepared myself like the week of, like everything was last minute. Year number two, in September, I told the clients like, hey, Black Friday is coming up. You got to think about it. But I didn't really take action on it until the end of October. But nonetheless, was a little earlier. Year three, I said, fuck it, let's do it really early. Let's go August. Like, we need to prepare as early as possible. I did end of July, early August. I built this whole training with like a 20+ minute loom sent to our client and asked every client to book a one-on-one with me to talk about the Black Friday Cyber Monday strategy. So that's what we did essentially in early August. The key word though to retain it is mentally, but physically a lot of our clients weren't ready. So meaning in my mind, I was like, look, if I plant the seed early enough about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, there's no choice that everyone's gonna start thinking about it and get back to us with the right dates. And a lot of our clients, what we ended up doing on that one-on-one, it set like a tentative Q4 plan, but most of them ended with like, we'll get back to you on this, which I was like, fine. As long as we get an answer before the end of September, we'll be good. End of September comes, I think 2 or 3 of our brands were like ready. Every other brand was still trying to not sure, like, oh, we're waiting on this from our email team, or we're waiting on that from our supplier. And then it ended up really taking a lot of time. Like it was not until probably middle of October that most of our brands were like, all right, cool, we're set. But you'll get to see that they weren't really set, because some of those examples, and I'll share that also, like I'll get back to you, not all brands are made equal. Some of the brands essentially were hesitant on the Black Friday offer 2 days prior. Like, I kid you not, I had brands like 2 days prior being like, I think we're gonna, instead of doing a 15% off, let's switch to like 25% off. All the copy, all the creatives had to be reworked. Now, switching from a code to automatic discount too, same thing. It's like, well, made all the creatives was like, you got to use, use code X at checkout. Not anymore. Automatic codes. Like, all right, well, look, either we remove it or we run them as is. It just adds this gray zone now. Adding a second offer in the midst of the weekend. That too. Some clients were like, hey, we're seeing this opportunity with like our bottom of funnel. Let's throw some new ads with like a 15% off in addition to whatever we've had. Like, let's throw it off the course, right? What was it here? Running out of stock. That was crazy. Running out of stock prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's a typical one. I've seen that every year for the last 3 years. And most of these things I've said in my plan. Like, clients were aware of that, but it still happened, which is why I'm saying, like, even though I can do as much as I possibly can on our side to make sure these things get fixed, but a lot of this sometimes, and I'll put that into big quotes, sometimes is out of our control, because I feel like we could have done a better job here at constantly reminding clients and like really walking them through this steps of like getting each of these things ready. But yeah, some of our clients actually 2 days prior to Cyber Monday, or Black Friday, I should say, DM'd us on Slack. We're like, guys, we're running out of stock on this and that product, which we're supposed to be advertised. We won't be able to advertise. And then another one of our clients, the Saturday, so right after Black Friday, he's like, hey guys, this specific variant in my product isn't in stock anymore. And we're like, well, all of our winning ad creatives and all of the products that sold the most on day one was that product. So if we kill these ads, probably it's gonna go down. Luckily, we didn't kill these ads. I told the client, let's keep them up and running. Let's see if sales are gonna go down on these ads or not on a 1-day click basis. So we were looking at seeing if they were still converting on the day of, and they did. So they kept up and running, but again, it was a bit risky. One of our clients blasted their master email list multiple times during Black Friday, ended up landing in spam, right? It was like 19 to 20% open rate only on their email. Launching new ad platforms or tests on Black Friday, Cyber Monday itself was an error that I made. Somehow I told a couple clients, I was like, hey, we haven't yet tested that ad channel with you. Let's test it during Black Friday, because it might be a good time to gather some more data. And typically, like, it was, but it also yielded extra stress for no reason, right? Extra stress on the client's part to make sure the channel was ready. So like setting up the documentation, getting the business manager verified, etc. Extra stress on our side to produce some more assets, which I was like, did that channel really contribute immensely to the success? No. Typically, it was, again, a test. So it could have been done at a different time. Finally, I said it right here. These were killing us on a few accounts, caused unnecessary stress on both ends. Little typo right here. Going back to that was typical of smaller brands, because most big brands, and that's something I'm also realizing with time, the bigger the brands, the more they have their stuff figured out. They know their PMF, right? They already know the winning ad angles of desire. They know the winning ad account structure. We already know what offer we're going to run. Typically, they've already forecasted stock like 6 months in advance. I kid you not. Some of the clients were ready like June, July. They were good stock-wise. So it's like, this is a commonality I'm noticing with the smaller the brand, typically the more kind of last minute and the more off the cuff things are being done. Moving on to point number 3, which is more of an internal realization I've had on our end, which is our internal calendar. Although we already wrote down the event dates on ClickUp, which is the project management software that we had, some of the events were missing crucial details. So it typically wasn't a problem, or at least wasn't really as apparent, given the lower volume of events we have and the mental capacity we'd have on a regular basis. It's like we limit our client pool to, again, about 10 to 20 brands. So it's like, let's say you have 15, 16 brands actively working with us. Typically, it's not all of them that have a promotion at the same time. We remember, and at least somebody on the team is able to kind of call everybody out and make sure that we get stuff done in due time, right? But the problem was, and again, although we typically write down the event dates on ClickUp, we didn't realize that it, like, to secure the entire team and make sure everybody was aligned, that every subsequent subtasks had to be as diligently written down. I'm gonna give you an idea. We might have had for client number 1 on ClickUp, Black Friday sale with 20% discount. The event date on ClickUp was of, let's say, November 24th to November 27th. And it was assigned, as an example, to the account manager. But then it's like, the only way for them to get notified of that event is on the event date, which is already too late. Shit needs to be launched. But then there were no subtasks as to like, when do you need to schedule the ads? When does the creative strategist needs to actually start writing the strategy? When do we need to send stuff to the client to have enough time for revisions campaigns to get it scheduled? When do ad editors need to start editing these ads? So on and so forth. And that like started catching up to us about a week out of Black Friday. We're like, shit, the team is not enough organized. Like, we need to organize this better. So luckily we caught that in time. I said a week up. I think it was a week earlier. But although, you know, this was quite last minute, it was too close for comfort. Next year, I want us to be sharper with that and to have kind of the entire plan for the subtasks of each event and all of the like different tasks internally we had to complete. I wish for us to be more organized on this front next year onwards. Now, number 4 was creative power, which I want to bring up because on almost every ad account, one thing that I noticed this year is that evergreen ad campaigns outperform the Black Friday Cyber Monday ad creatives. Now, I've learned that last year where not necessarily that evergreen campaigns outperformed Black Friday campaigns, but more so that there was a lot of late attribution. Like if you toggle between one day click versus 7-day click, 1-day view attribution windows, you notice that a lot of the attributions on the evergreen campaigns were on the former. So more on the like 7-day click, 1-day view, right? So which basically told us that these campaigns like appear to do good during Black Friday, but typically like the sales actually came from just a big push in the Black Friday Cyber Monday campaigns. This year is actually quite different. For some reason, on a lot of our accounts, the evergreen campaigns on a 1-day click basis outperformed a lot of the Black Friday Cyber Monday ad creatives. So a lot of our accounts that we really pushed and scaled, we scaled the evergreen campaigns, not the Black Friday Cyber Monday campaigns. That was quite interesting. Now, the second part is our creative strategists had created 2 types of ads. Number 1, which is great because we had agreed on that, and that was one of my recommendations, was Black Friday is not a time to reinvent the wheel. It's a time to hone in on what has been proven in the year because you want to basically appear your best, be as sharp as possible. So rework versions of winning ads, winning ad angles, winning ad creatives, either add banners, change the hook, but use a winning ad that's already been proven and flip it on a Black Friday Cyber Monday angle. Or number 2, new ad concepts, which can be risky, but I'll put it with a yellow light, which this is where there was miscommunication amongst the team, which what I meant to essentially communicate internally was that if you want to do a new ad concept, reverse engineer the elements of a current winning ad, and you can create something that has the same backbone. Meaning, take a look at what was the desire of that winning ad? What was the awareness level of that winning ad? What was the sophistication stage of that winning ad? Perhaps what was the overall angle of that winning ad? And it doesn't need to be the same creator, the same like everything, but if you want to do a new ad, do it with the same backbone so that you know it has a higher chance of working, right? But that in itself was again not fully understood. What ended up happening is that I started noticing after about a dozen ads were made for a couple different clients, we were just making new ads, a little bit like evergreen ads, but new ads related to Black Friday with like concepts that were untested before, which that's risky because that's taking a bet. You don't know if these ads are going to perform or not because you've never really tested either this desire, angle, awareness level, etc. So that's one thing I'd say, like, I'm going to raise a yellow flag on our part. Could have been communicated better internally. Luckily, most of these ads actually performed great for our clients. Now, other thing that ended up happening, we ran out of editing manpower and had to hire rapidly an additional editor to support our creative demand internally. So I did not properly forecast the editing manpower that we needed. In fact, one of our ad editors started kind of going down in productivity too. Luckily, I not only had a filled up pipeline of editors, but I also kind of knew that this position was started to go down a little bit. Like this, one of the editors again was editing less and less. So I just quickly reached out to one of the guys that stood out essentially in this hiring process, asked him if he was available right away to come on board. Luckily he was, and that really helped us out. So lesson, which basically is like always keep your doors open for hiring, always keep a pipeline full of potential people to bring on board, because in these times you need fast manpower. You need to bring people on board essentially right away, right? Now, the last learning of this video, which is I think one of the biggest learnings, is also just in the way that you need to scale efficiently during Black Friday itself. So thanks to the recommendations of a close friend of mine, he basically told us like the best way to look at scale during the day was to look at hourly sales trends on Triple Wall to identify scaling opportunities, which is what we did. On Black Friday itself, we were scaling or downscaling almost hourly, depending on the account. Over the weekend, it was more like 3 to 4 times a day that we were checking it, but the day of, it was pretty much all the time. Now, scaling or surf scaling is something like this, where you open up Triple Wall, you pick specific campaigns, and you look at the hourly trends on following metrics like ad spend, purchases, and ROAS. You see how these campaigns are performing hourly. And if, as long as a campaign is performing above KPI hourly, you can keep on increasing spend, essentially, which we were doing. Usually more aggressive than typical. Like typical, I would not scale more than 20% in a day. Now we were scaling sometimes by 40% the hour. Like it was a lot more of an aggressive scaling and or downscaling technique too during the day, right? Because same thing goes for when we notice a big crash in the campaigns at an hour, we'd sometimes cut budget by almost half to let it just go down a little bit and then bump it back up afterwards. So we kept this method rolling pretty much for the entire weekend. I highly recommend it. It allows you, again, to be much more efficient, catch the quick change in tides, and like just make the best use of your budget. Essentially, that's really the learning in this. It's like make the best use of the budget. Now, one thing I do, honestly, having to restart that again, is I'd probably hire another media bar to be present on a graveyard shift during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Because what I realized is that a lot of the brands that either were in other time zones than ours, or for some reason, some of our brands did very well at night, like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., even some at like 3, 4 a.m. They were like blasting sales, which was quite crazy to be honest. I didn't really see that the last year because last 2 years we had mostly clients on Eastern time, and now this year we have a lot more foreign clients. So of course that does change the game. But even this year, for some reason, some of our local clients started getting a lot of sales in the middle of the night. So that is something I'd probably do if we want to be like as efficient as possible. I might want to get like a junior media bar on a graveyard shift that just checks all the campaigns nightly, and based on specific rules would just downscale or scale based on results, right? Finally, in terms of patterns, and I'm saying that more as a learning that I've had across the years. It's not a new learning, but it's something that I think you should know and you should leverage in your next Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is the following. So here are the typical Friday versus Monday curves of revenue, which I send out to our team on Slack to kind of help them gauge their efforts. Looks like that. So Friday in itself, budgets typically go down as the day goes by because early bird has the urgency. The start of a sale creates this urgency. It's like, oh shit, there's a new sale. Let me hop on it right now. Which is why typically early morning on the Friday itself is usually the highest time of sales of the entire Black Friday. Now, if you look at the Cyber Monday, which is the second picture, the one to the right, it's the opposite. Instead of budget going all the way up at the start of the day and then you have budget scaling down throughout the day, typically on Monday, it's the opposite. You scale up as the day go by because it's a last chance that gets you this urgency. It's like, oh, it's almost over. Time is running out, right? And the 3 spikes typically on Monday, or not on Monday, sorry, but on the Friday were the following in order of biggest to lowest, which were very typical with consumer behaviors. 8 to 10 a.m. before work. People just woke up. They got their morning coffee in. They're checking their phone. Oh shit, there's a sale. Let me buy before work. Then 12 to 2 p.m., which you can kind of see right here, right? This is the before work peak. This is essentially the launch peak. And then as time kind of goes by right here, then you have like these other peaks towards the end of the day, which typically is more like an end of the day peak. So after work, right? 5 to 6 p.m. typically is one of those peaks that we saw on our end. So all in all, those are my main learnings and takeaways of this Black Friday Cyber Monday season. I hope you found some value in this video and that perhaps this will help you come back stronger next year. With that being said, if you are looking to once again crush it this end of Q4 and this early Q1, click the link down below and book in a call to speak with our team. Perhaps we can help you crush it on Meta, Google, or TikTok this year come around. So again, have an amazing day. Check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll be talking to you soon. Peace.